You know that feeling when you go to like a modern state-of-the-art zoo and you walk right up to the big cat exhibit?
Oh, yeah. Always a little nerve-wracking.
Right, because you see this massive, terrifying apex predator just, inches away. But you feel completely safe because there is this incredibly thick, perfectly engineered pane of reinforced glass between you and the danger.
Yeah, the illusion of total safety.
Exactly. Now imagine standing there, just sipping your coffee, and suddenly you hear a sharp crack.
Oh, wow. Terrifying.
Yeah, followed by that immediate cold realization that a fracture has just spiderwebbed across the entire pane of glass.
Yeah, that means the containment system has completely failed. Like, the boundary you rely on to separate order from absolute chaos is just, it's gone.
It's totally gone.
And a really terrifying shift in reality is about to take place right in front of you.
I am so glad you're joining us for today's deep dive because that shattered glass, that is exactly our focal point today.
It really is.
We are looking at this fascinating stack of sources for you. We've got official WWE match previews and these incredibly detailed SmackDown highlight breakdowns from March 2026.
Really wild material in there.
Oh, absolutely unhinged. Our mission for you today is to basically deconstruct the anatomy of a feud that has spiraled so far out of control that a multi-billion-dollar sports entertainment company has legally washed its hands of the entire situation.
Which is unprecedented, really.
It's crazy. We are looking at the impending, just catastrophic collision between Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 42. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Thanks to it.
Because to understand the absolute extreme nature of this upcoming match, we really first have to look at the inciting psychological warfare that pushed these two men past the point of no return.
Right, because, I mean, the physical violence of this rivalry is honestly merely the symptom.
Just the symptom.
Yeah, the psychological violence is the actual disease here.
Yeah.
You really have to look at how this conflict originated to understand why it escalated so rapidly. We're looking at an initial strike that was designed to cause maximum professional devastation.
Yeah, and the sources detail a massive disruption. So Jacob Fatu, appropriately known as the Samoan Werewolf, he deliberately interfered in this colossal championship match.
Huge match.
Yeah, he cost Drew McIntyre, the Scottish psychopath, the undisputed WWE title against Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Like, think about the most toxic office rivalry you've ever witnessed or experienced, and now just remove HR, remove the law, and remove gravity.
That's a great way to put it.
That is the baseline we are starting from here.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the sheer calculation of that initial strike by Fatu. I mean, if we look at the psychology of a professional athlete operating at this elite global level, the undisputed WWE Championship is the absolute pinnacle of their existence.
It's everything.
It represents a lifetime of sacrifice, unparalleled financial security, and permanent validation in the history books.
Yeah, your legacy is cemented forever.
Exactly. So Fatu didn't just attack McIntyre physically in that moment. He basically assassinated McIntyre's life's work at the exact second it was about to be realized.
Man, he went straight for the most valuable asset, just completely bypassing a standard physical confrontation. But, a psychological ambush like that, it doesn't just end a feud, it acts as an accelerant.
Oh, 100%.
Once McIntyre lost that championship opportunity, he realized they were no longer operating under the normal rules of engagement in a wrestling ring.
The rulebook was out the window.
Completely. And his retaliation was one of the most brilliant and honestly unhinged strategies I've read in a long time.
It really was.
Because McIntyre didn't just show up on SmackDown the next week and throw a punch. He faked his own retirement.
Yeah, he pretended to quit SmackDown entirely and vanished from the roster.
Weaponized absence.
Yes, weaponized absence. It is a terrifying tactic because it forces your opponent to fight a ghost.
Right. Who are you supposed to hit?
Exactly. Fatu is left standing in the ring, expecting a counterattack. And instead, he gets absolutely nothing. Weeks go by. The adrenaline fades.
The paranoia sets in. And then eventually, naturally, the guard drops. McIntyre waited just long enough for Fatu to believe he had actually won the psychological war.
He really played the long game.
He did. Fatu moves on. He gets booked in a match against Trick Williams. And at that exact moment, McIntyre returns.
The trap springs.
Yes, yeah. He ambushes Fatu and absolutely dismantles him. I mean, it is a textbook military Trojan horse.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
McIntyre feigned complete surrender. He gave this illusion that the gates of Troy were wide open and the war was over, solely to breach the enemy's psychological defenses before launching this devastating, intimate ambush.
And a Trojan horse only works if the enemy truly believes the conflict has
Right.
concluded. McIntyre convinced Fatu, he convinced management, and he likely convinced the entire global viewing audience that he had just walked
Which is
away.
wild for a guy in his prime.
Exactly. And this really highlights the intricate tit-for-tat nature of the feud we're analyzing. We are observing a systematic destruction of what the other man values
Okay, break
most.
that down for me.
Well, Fatu destroyed McIntyre's championship gold, right? So McIntyre destroyed Fatu's career momentum and his fundamental sense of security. Like, Fatu will never be able to stand in a ring or walk down a ramp without looking over his shoulder
Because the ghost
again.
could come back at any time. Which,
Precisely.
okay, brings us to a massive escalation.
Yeah.
That calculated psychological sabotage inevitably boiled over into just uncontrollable physical bedlam.
Total
The kind
chaos.
of bedlam that a highly structured, meticulously planned weekly television broadcast simply could not contain. The
Agreed.
sources, the highlight breakdowns, they detail that on the March 20th edition of SmackDown, these two adversaries completely derailed the entire production. Yeah, they
from minute
began
one.
brawling in the very opening moments of the show, and they refused to stop until the very end of the broadcast. They basically hijacked the entire night.
Think about the scale of that. An entire arena, thousands of fans, a live global television audience, and a massive production crew, all essentially taken hostage by the personal animosity of two individuals.
Staggering.
The structural breakdown of the show itself is a real testament to how deep that psychological warfare
And
had
it
penetrated.
culminated in an absolute nightmare scenario for any broadcaster or athletic commission. Like, the climax of the night was the two men throwing each other off a high steel balcony.
Just
They didn't just fight
unthinkable.
near the edge, they went over it together. So
Yeah.
what does this all mean? Because I kind of have to push back a little here on the narrative of these two being unstoppable mythical forces.
Okay,
When I
I'm
read
listening.
about a 2-hour broadcast being completely hijacked, honestly, I see a massive administrative failure. I mean, Nick
Interesting.
Aldis is the SmackDown general manager. He has a security budget. He has an entire locker room of other elite athletes. Why couldn't, 50 security guards just tackle Fatu and McIntyre, cuff them, and end the broadcast peacefully? Doesn't this represent a total failure of leadership on Aldis's part?
See, this raises an important question about the actual limits of institutional control. And it really exposes a flaw in how we view authority.
so?
Well, we tend to think of management, security guards, fines, and suspensions as these absolute impenetrable
Right, because
barriers.
usually they work.
Exactly, usually. But those deterrents only function if the individuals involved actually care about the consequences. Deterrence requires a baseline of
But
self-preservation.
surely there are physical limits. I mean, if they jump off a balcony, WWE still has to send medical personnel. The
Of
company
course.
can't just let them lie there on the concrete while the broadcast continues. There's a baseline duty of care that management has to enforce, regardless of whether the athletes care about fines.
Duty of care exists, yes. But you are looking at two combatants who have actively decided to weaponize that duty of care against the
Wow.
company.
Okay, explain that.
When you see Fatu and McIntyre plummeting off his steel balcony, you are witnessing a complete and total lack of self-preservation. You cannot threaten the man with a suspension or a fine if he is actively willing to end his own career or his own life just to ensure his opponent goes down with him.
Yeah, it is intense.
General Manager Nick Aldis and his security team were trying to apply the standard rules of a wrestling promotion to two men who were operating under the doctrine of mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction.
Yeah. The traditional framework of a sports broadcast literally collapsed under the weight of their hostility because, frankly, security guards are trained to separate athletes, not to defuse a suicide mission.
Man, that is a chilling perspective. Mutually assured destruction inside a sports entertainment construct.
Exactly.
Because traditional authority and security measures failed so spectacularly to contain the violence on March 20th, leadership was basically forced to take drastic, unprecedented administrative action to protect the corporation.
They had no choice.
Right. The institutional failure led directly to a legal loophole.
And the administrative pivot here is just a masterclass in risk management.
So, according to the sources, SmackDown GM Nick Aldis made their showdown official for WrestleMania 42, but he attached a very specific designation. He declared it an unsanctioned match.
Which changes everything.
Completely. The official definition provided by WWE is explicitly clear. No rules, no protection, and uncontrollable bedlam.
It's the formal removal of the glass from the zoo exhibit.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. When you look at this from a business and narrative perspective, it is a massive corporate paradox.
How do you mean?
Well, on one hand, WWE is actively providing the ring. They are providing the marketing, the lighting, the pyrotechnics, the cameras, and this massive global audience for this brawl. They are profiting immensely from the violence. But simultaneously, they are using this unsanctioned designation to totally disavow any responsibility for the inevitable carnage.
Yeah.
They are legally washing their hands of liability for what happens to Fatu and McIntyre, while literally selling the spectacle of their destruction.
It's brilliant, really. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the unsanctioned label is the ultimate blank check in sports entertainment, and it requires a deep understanding of what a referee actually represents.
Beyond just counting to 3.
Right. We think of a referee as the person who counts the pins or enforces the rules regarding rope breaks and illegal holds. But fundamentally, a referee is a proxy for the company's legal duty of care. The referee is the physical manifestation of management's promise to stop the match if someone is critically injured. So by making this match unsanctioned, Nick Aldis isn't just taking away the rules, he is entirely removing the safety net.
Management is stripping away the proxy.
Exactly.
So if Fatu is trapped or McIntyre is unconscious or either man is in severe life-threatening danger, the company is legally positioning itself to say, hey, that is not our problem. We warned you.
Yeah. The burden of survival shifts entirely onto Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre.
Wow.
The company's stance is essentially, look, we tried to govern you on March 20th, and you destroyed our broadcast and threw yourselves off a balcony.
Right.
We are no longer going to try to save you from yourselves. Whatever happens to you on this stage is entirely of your own making. It is a brilliant abdication of responsibility disguised as a match stipulation.
It really is.
Yeah.
In the modern attention economy, chaos is a premium product.
It sells.
Absolutely sells. WWE is legally washing its hands, but narratively, they are packaging and selling the shattered glass to a massive audience. And, you know, we have to talk about the scale of the stage where these consequences are actually going to play out.
The setting is crucial here.
It is. The sheer brutality of this lawless, unsanctioned bedlam stands in stark contrast to the historic, legacy-defining backdrop of the event itself. We are looking at WrestleMania 42.
The juxtaposition is what elevates this from just a simple grudge match to a wildly volatile wild card.
Right, and the sources really outline the magnitude of this event. WrestleMania 42 will stream live on Saturday, April 18th, and Sunday, April 19th at 6 ET, 3 PT.
A 2-night spectacle.
Yeah, and the venue is Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the showcase of the Immortals.
And placing this specific feud in Las Vegas is a profound thematic choice.
Because of the gambling.
Yeah, you have a city built entirely on high stakes, gambling, and massive theatrical spectacle. But even by the inflated standards of Las Vegas, the sheer scale of the WrestleMania 42 card is immense.
To truly give you a sense of the prestige and the highly structured nature of this event, we have to look at the other major matches sharing this exact same stage.
We do.
The sources highlight John Cena in his final year as an active WWE superstar, fighting Cody Rhodes for the chance to win a record-breaking 17th world title.
I mean, that is a moment of pure, unadulterated sporting history.
Absolutely.
John Cena pursuing that 17th title is about honoring decades of legacy, adhering to the rule book, and achieving a pristine athletic milestone. It is the definition of honorable competition.
The ultimate structured narrative. And he is not alone on this card. We also have AJ Lee battling Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Which is going to be incredible.
Oh, that promises to be a deeply technical, hard-fought, strategic bout between two absolute masters of their craft. And then you also have Sami Zayn defending the United States Championship against Trick Williams, another bout steeped in tradition, championship rules, and athletic prestige.
And think about what ties all of those together. Every single one of those matches relies on the social contract of professional wrestling.
The agreed-upon rules.
Right. They rely on referees, on rules, on the ropes actually meaning something, and on the fundamental understanding that the combatants are there to win a sporting contest.
And right in the middle of all that prestige, right alongside John Cena's quest to rewrite the record books and AJ Lee's technical mastery, you drop a literal bomb of unpredictable, lawless violence. You have Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre Two men who have been legally abandoned by their company, operating with no rules, no referee to protect them, and a proven history of mutually assured destruction.
And, the brilliance of this booking is how the Fatu and McIntyre match alters the entire complexion of WrestleMania 42.
How so?
Well, you have this incredibly produced global spectacle. The lighting cues are dialed in perfectly. The pyrotechnics are timed to the millisecond. The video packages are majestic.
Right, $1 billion production.
Yes. And simmering beneath all of that polish is an unsanctioned war taking place in the exact same building.
And the anxiety.
Exactly. It creates an incredible underlying tension for the entire weekend. The audience in Allegiant Stadium, the millions watching at home, the other athletes in the locker room, and management themselves. Everyone is perpetually waiting for the containment system to fracture again.
Because you can schedule an unsanctioned match on a run sheet, but you cannot schedule the parameters of uncontrollable bedlam.
You really can't.
You can't put a definitive time limit on two men who are literally trying to end each other's careers.
No. And the contrast elevates the entire event. I mean, the pristine, honorable pursuit of championships feels even more valuable when contrasted against the sheer barbaric lawlessness of Fatu and McIntyre.
That is so true. Okay, let's take a breath and look at the incredible journey we've just covered for you.
It's been quite the ride.
It really has. We started with a calculated, devastating disruption. Jacob Fatu robbing Drew McIntyre of his life's work, the undisputed WWE title. Then we analyze how that psychological strike led to McIntyre's incredibly devious, weaponized absence, using a fake retirement to spring a Trojan horse ambush.
Right.
We tracked how that psychological warfare acted as an accelerant, escalating into the terrifying broadcast-destroying brawl on March 20th that culminated in a horrific balcony fall.
Unbelievable footage.
And finally, we explored the corporate paradox of management legally washing its hands of the violence, leading to a lawless, unsanctioned war in the middle of Las Vegas at WrestleMania 42, entirely surrounded by some of the most historic, meticulously structured matches in the history of the company.
We have basically observed a masterclass in how a system breaks down when the individuals involved stop caring about self-preservation, and honestly how a corporation capitalizes on that breakdown.
And House always wins.
Always. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thing to ponder. Something that builds directly on the very definition of this match stipulation.
Oh, I love a good lingering thought. What do you have for us?
Well, we've established the terrifying mechanics of an unsanctioned match, right?
Right.
Absolutely no rules, no referee to act as a safety net, and WWE completely washing its hands of all responsibility.
Right.
Management has officially declared on paper that they cannot and will not control Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre.
Right.
But here is the terrifying variable that no one in management wants to say out loud. If the bedlam is truly uncontrollable, what dictates that it stays inside the ring?
Oh, wow.
Right. What happens if this lawless violence spills out into the backstage area or into the crowd and actively interferes with the other historic matches on the card?
Oh, my gosh.
If Fatu and McIntyre cannot be governed by Nick Aldis, the security team, or any baseline sense of self-preservation, could their absolute lack of boundaries actually threaten John Cena's 17th title match?
That would be devastating.
If the glass is truly shattered, could their unsanctioned war derail the entire showcase of the Immortals?
Oh, man. That is the crack in the glass spreading to the rest of the zoo.
Exactly.
It's not just their individual match on the line. It is the structural integrity of the entire event. They are a virus in the system.
A totally ungovernable virus.
That is a brilliant and genuinely terrifying point to end on. Thank you so much for joining us as we unpacked this incredible breakdown of order, chaos, and the corporate machine that profits from both.
It has been an absolute pleasure to analyze this with you. Keep your eyes on the glass.
We will see you next time on The Deep Dive.